Hello, it is time for another lesson. Oh, shut up. This time it is If by the Bluetones, due to extremely popular demand, and by extremely popular demand I mean 2 people asked for this in the comments of my cover. Andrew Christie and, more importantly, Matt Coggins, because Matt is going to play this in an orchestra next year. So I feel an immense sense of responsibility to make this cover as clear as possible, because I kind of determine whether he's successful or not. So the pressure's on. Yeah, leave it to me, Matt. I wouldn't leave anything to me. Anyway, let's begin. Actually, no, before we do, you see that weird ominous strobe effect on my wall? Yeah, that's the shadow of my fan, because that is on right now, because it's summer here in Australia and it's very hot. And if it bothers you, oh look, I'm sure you'll get over it. Let's begin. Okay, before I start explaining things, I'm gonna say that the strings are E, A, D, G, B, E instead of first string, second string, blah, blah, whatever. If you don't know which strings are which, then you probably should before watching this video. But if you don't, ding, there you go. There's a helpful diagram. Okay, now that's out of the way. The progression for the verses kind of repeats itself over and over again, and it uses these chord shapes. It's A major pretty much with that one finger, this A augmented thing, then F sharp minor, then whatever the hell this is. I don't know what that's even called. I just know how to do it. And then this B minor thing, and then it kind of goes back down to, and then there's this D. It's a weird sort of, I don't know, it's like a seventh, but it's not. And then you hammer on this here. Go back to A for a bit, and then you slide up to this augmented. I don't even know if it's an A augment. It's probably an E augmented thing. No idea what I'm doing. I'm just going to try and explain it as best as I can. But because it's Adam Devlin, nothing is as it seems, and it's not a matter of just strumming those chords, right? It would be nice if it was that easy, you know? But it's not. So first things first, when you're on this A, you hit the open A by itself, and you palm mute, right? So this is the intro verse. So you palm mute it, open A. Open A first, then D, then G. But then you hammer on with your third finger to this B, and then you slide it up a whole step. Like that. Back down again. Back to that A. And then I think what I do is, yeah, I think I play an open G after that. So open G string. So the same string, but you just let go of it completely. No, hang on. Open D, sorry. Yep. and then up to this augmented shape, which is your third finger on the A string, your second finger on the D string, and then you kind of just bar the rest with your index finger like that. Should sound something like that. And then the same sort of story with this augmented thing. So arpeggiate it all the way up to the B, and then once you get to the B, hammer on, or you pick it again and hammer on, all the way back down, but again, palm muting the whole thing. Or as best as you can. It doesn't matter if some of the higher strings ring out a bit, because when Adam played it live, there's a bit of that happening. Speaking of when he plays it live, for this chord specifically, even in the intro verse, when he plays it live, he goes like that. He does a sort of double stop bend thing, but in the studio recording, he just does a very sort of palm muted arpeggio up and down, up and down. If you just keep that sort of same arpeggiated, palm muted theme in mind, then it will sound correct. It's just, if it sounds vaguely like that, then you're doing the right thing. But after you do that whole phrase, you get down to this second fret on the D string, and then you hammer on, well, not hammer on, just put your finger on the fourth fret there on the D string. That's what you're doing. That F sharp minor, you kind of walk it up to there and then make the rest of the chord with your first finger. That's what I do, at least. I want to make it plain that I don't think that this is 100% accurate in terms of trying to copy what Adam was doing in the studio recording or even live. I just tried to get as close as I can. So after you do this arpeggiated F sharp minor thing, I just hit the open D string again to get to whatever this is. It's your second finger on the second fret, and then your first finger on the, second finger on the second fret D string, first finger on the first fret G string, and then third finger on the B string, second fret. Should sound like that. And then you hit the open E as well, so like that, open D, straight up. And then you take your first and second finger here. So what is that? Third fret D string with your first finger, and then fourth fret A string with your second finger. And you slide up. So you've got like a little chord shape here. It's like a weird sort of double stop. Down strum twice again, and then big old stretch here with your fourth finger, but then you lift it off again. So it's like that. And then I think it's open G string, and then you kind of, that's it, yeah. So after you do that crazy thing, you hit the open E string and then walk back down to A from this, whatever the hell this is. So third finger on the fourth fret D, and then first finger on the second fret D as well. So open G, fourth fret D string, second fret D string, back to A. So and then twice on the open A, and then you put your first finger here, which is one before D, on the G string, which is how many frets up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sixth fret on this string here, G string, and then you do like a sort of walking up chromatic thing. I think there's a name for this as an exercise in there, like a spider walk thing. You just do that. If you really don't want to use your fourth finger, you can just slide up with your third finger. And that, I think, is more convenient for how you set yourself up for the next chord, which is a B minor. So, exact same thing as this F sharp minor from earlier. Except you end on the G string this time. So, where do you go after that? You might be wondering. Well, you come to this augmented shape again, but instead of arpeggiating it up and down again, you do this big slide on the A string up to this D, up to this E, sorry. So slide up to here on the A string with your third finger, have the chord shape, the rest of the chord shape ready. Like that. And then back to A. Like that. You may notice that the camera angle has changed slightly from the rest of the video, and that is because I forgot to include this part and I only realized it while I was editing the video. So, when you do the whole intro verse phrase, and there's the double open A with the A chord strum, the first time you do that spider walk thing to get to the B minor, but the second time you go like this, which is just this kind of pentatonic style walking up thing from the F sharp to the G sharp. So you hammer on with that first finger on the low E string, and then do the same with the third, and then it's pretty much the same thing just without the hammer-ons on the A string. Open A, like that. And then from there you go up to your B minor arpeggio again, and you want to be pretty quick about that. So I'd recommend doing a slide to get up to there, because it all happens quite fast. So, and then you do the slide back down to the verse where it isn't palm muted. So, like that. And I will teach you how to do that now. So after you've played the first sort of phrasing of the palm muting intro verse thing, it happens the exact same way again, except there's only a slight change at the end after this B minor arpeggio thing. You slide down from this E here on the A string with your third finger. So it's like you're about to make this augmented chord shape again and start the whole thing again, but you're not. What you're going to do is third finger, A string on this E, that note there. So, like that. Keep your third finger on the string when you slide back down, because what you want to do after that is get your first finger on the second fret D string, hammer on to the fourth fret, G string. So like the start of a pentatonic kind of thing. And you want to hammer back on to that D string. Open A. And then you play the whole phrase, the verse phrase again, as you would, but without the palm muting. And now, this is where it changes again. Before it goes into the chorus, it slides up, second finger on the D string, from this that chord shape there, it goes up to the fourth fret on the D string, back down, open D. So second to fourth fret, back down to the second fret on the D string with your second finger, open D string, third finger on the 4th fret of the A string, and then up to the 5th fret. So, and then what I do here is I go, which is first finger on the 2nd fret of the low E, and then open A. So hammer on, slide up to that 4th fret on the A, like that, and then hold that. You can give it some vibrato if you really want to, if you're a smart ass, but like that. You don't arpeggiate this all the way up. I should have stressed, sorry. You only go, so D, G, B strings, arpeggiate it down that way one time, hold that note for a bit, and then you go to this, and this is where it gets interesting again, because Adam Devlin is just, this song is basically completely chock-a-block full of insane riffs, and that's why I'm really struggling to explain it, so you're gonna have to be patient with me, I'm sorry. So after this, it goes like that. I'm gonna just stop for a second and take some time to work out how I can explain that. Okay, so after you come up to this, which is, it's like a sort of 7th shape, which is your, it's like, but just these 3 fingers here. It's like an E7, but with these 3 fingers. So you slide up on the 2nd finger, and then after that, you change the fingering of the chord to this. So you swap your 3rd finger on the G for your 1st finger, and that's not touching any strings at all now, so. And then you slide it down a whole step, and you hit the open E, and then the G string again. Like that. You don't need to hit the lower strings when you slide down, because they'll still be ringing out from when you first hit them after you changed from that 7 shape to this. Back to A. And then you don't need to repeat the verse phrase again. You just strum it a couple of times. What I like to do is make it like a, what do you call it? A sus2? Is that what it's called? I don't know the names of any of these. I just look and see if I can match live performances and try and work things out by ear. I don't know what most of these are called. I'm sorry. I don't know anything. Back to this A major sort of thing. Hit that sus sort of thing. And then off again. And then you make it, is that a 7th as well? I've got no idea. So it goes from your 3rd finger being on the 3rd fret B string to 3rd finger, 3rd fret high E. And the arpeggiation of that is so from B down to D, B, G, D, hit the B again, and then hit that high E, same thing back down to the G string. Like that. And then you make sure you lift off, or you have lift off. What am I trying to say? Change it to this, okay? I think that's an A sus2. They're all A sus2s in my mind. Anything that's a D without that 2nd finger on is just an A sus2. Anything can be an A sus2 if you're brave enough. It's just a D without your 2nd finger on the high E string. So whatever that chord is, it's that. Where do you go from there? You slide up a whole step and you keep strumming the thing. like that. And it keeps on ascending. It's basically this ascending riff that keeps going, but instead of moving that chord shape up continuously, you come back down to here on the D string. So 3rd fret, 1st finger D string, and then what is that? 5th fret, 3rd finger D string, and then onto the G string, 2nd fret with your 1st finger, and then 3rd finger on the 4th fret G string, and then back to an A. So everything we just had so far. Like that. I've got to try and remember what I do here now, so give me a sec. Okay, after you've done that ascending sort of phrase once, it changes the second time. It goes... I don't know if that's 100% accurate or not. It sounds pretty close to me, but yeah. So what it is you kind of cover these strings with your 1st finger, strum and hammer on to that B string with the 2nd finger, and then down to the G string with the 3rd, and then down to the 1st finger G string on the 2nd fret, and then you go D with the 3rd finger, and then you do this chromatic sort of walk down thing. So 2nd fret A with the 1st finger, and then 3rd finger D string, 1st finger G string on the A, and then back up to this 4th fret with the 3rd finger on the G string, and then off back to the G string with the 1st finger on the 2nd fret. There's a lot of back and forth between those sorts of strings for this part. And then walk down from the 4th to the 2nd fret, back to that. And then do it again. Same thing, but you want to arpeggiate this sort of hammer-on sus chord again with the A. So G, D, hammer on with the B, lift off and then pick it again, and then you go F sharp minor. So like that. And then before you go back to the verse again, you kind of have this turnaround riff thing, which is this. Like that. What this is effectively, it's my favorite word, it's returned. It's basically a E minor 7, but you just play it with your first 2 fingers. It's a great sound. I love using that. So 1st finger, then hammer on with the 2nd finger, and then you've got your 1st finger free to get that B string there. So hammer on the D string from 1st to 2nd finger, and then you've got that. And then where do you go from there? You get this shape, which is not intimidating at all because it's just an open D moved all the way up here. Moved up 6 frets from its normal position. Up here. So, but you don't just strum it, you arpeggiate it. Which is just G, high E, B, B, back to the G. And then after that, you take your third finger and you slide it up back to this sort of augmented position, but you don't play the chord. You just go with from your third to second finger. So third finger A string on this E here, half a step down on the D string. So A string, D string, and then first finger on this A string on the D. When I say on the D, on the A string, it's the D note, because that's a D chord, that's the root. So, like that. So, third finger, slide up, half a step down on the D string from the A string, and then just 1, 2, 3, like that, on the A string. First finger, second finger, third finger, back to the A. And then it repeats itself all over again. However, there is another section to this song that changes. So, the bridge, after you've done your repeated verse and chorus phrases, when you do this ascending part in the chorus, it's from this F sharp minor chord, and this is where the bridge starts. You come back up to this sort of turnaround riff, but instead of going like that with the first and second finger, you bar the whole thing and you actually make the chord shape. I find this to be the best way, at least. Like that. You make an E minor 7th chord with the whole shape. So D string, hammer on, B string, down to the G string, high E, B, G. And then same chord as down here, right? This 3-fingered thing. I think this is a 7th as well. So you want to get straight to that as soon as you can. After you hit that D string. Oh, sorry, after you hit that G string. So D string, B string, G string. But when you hit that G string, when you hit the B string again, you arpeggiate it all the way down. You slide up here, a whole step. But then you slide it again, half a step up. So, like that. And then you go half a step down from where you started. So altogether it should sound like this so far. Because you're half a step back from where you started. That's how your B string should sound. And then you arpeggiate it down to the D string again. And then you do that same phrasing twice. On the back up to the B string. Now, this is where it gets a little uncomfortable. You slide up from that same fret that you're on, but on the D string with your first finger like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a sort of bar chord shape when you slide up to, it's this. I like to just slide up as soon as I can, and then you hit the B string again on the whatever fret this is. It's just before this G major thing. And that's on the B string too, so. Same arpeggio down from B to the D string. But then, after that, you put your second finger on the next fret in front of your first. So, like that. And then you slide up a half step again. But I like to go back to where I came from and then slide all the way back up. So then you actually want to get to that G. D string again. Arpeggiate down from B to G to D again. That arpeggio happens so often in this song. And then you take your fourth finger, your pinky, and you 3 frets up from your first finger, hit that high E. And then slide it down half a step to the next fret below it, and then off on that high E. Now, what you do from here is you make this shape, which sounds very mysterious and daunting, but it's actually not at all, because it's just an A minor, but all the way up here. All the way up on whatever fret this is. And then, after you've arpeggiated down the same way as you did with this and this, you take your fourth finger and you hit that high E again, and then you do that same half a step down slide thing, but then an open E. It doesn't sound right when you play it by itself, but trust me, it once I play it in context, you'll see what I mean. And then half a step down again. So it should sound like that. So D, B, G, D, open E, B, G. And then there's one more thing to go before you return back to the main verse guitar part thing. I'm really struggling to explain this. I just hope this is clear enough. So everything we have so far should sound like this. Like that. And then we come to the end of the bridge, which is this. Okay, so from that part, we come down here to this, which is your second finger on the second fret A string and your third finger on the G string, second fret as well. It's like a B7 chord, but without your first finger. You just want these 2 strings to ring out. Like that. And then you slide it up a whole step. So slide up with the second finger, hit that G string, this is so bizarre. This is just, I don't even know how he thinks of doing this, but that is what we're going for next. So slide up with this weird sort of, it's like an R&B kind of shape, I guess. And you want your first finger to be on the G string instead. So it's similar to what we did before with the verses, kind of swapping fingers around with that sliding. Except there's a lot of open strings in this one. There's the open E, open B, down to that G string on the 3rd fret. And then what you do is the same thing, but you slide up a half step, and then you pick the open E and open B and G string again. And then to top it all off, we do this same slide up with the 3rd finger up to this E on the A string, and then 2nd finger on the D string, and then walk up chromatically, exact same phrase from earlier. And then you go back to the A. So the whole bridge, I'll play the whole thing to get back to A, so you have some sort of context as to how it's supposed to sound. So. Okay, I should also say that when you slide up to this, use your 2nd finger because it's already on that A string. It's a lot more convenient. So yeah, that's the bridge. And then the ending, really, it's the same as the verses, but again with slight changes. because nothing is ever simple or easy or straightforward with Adam Devlin's playing. So once we sort that out, you should know the whole song. All right, let's do it. So before the ending verses with the nahs, lots of nahs, nah, 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 lots of that. It's mostly the same, except he does a couple of things differently. So we've got our... But you want to use the just not the E string, the D string with that E note. But then after that, you slide up to here, to this D on the G string, and he does a sort of walk down back to A. Those 3 notes there. So it's like, what would that be? It's like D, and then like a C sharp thing, and then B. But he kind of makes it percussive, and he kind of... that kind of thing. That, to get back down to the A, to repeat the phrase again. All of this is palm muted still, except for that part. That's what he does live, at least. I don't think anything like that is on the studio recording, but yeah, it sounds good to me anyway. That kind of thing. And then once it does go into the na 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 na, it's that. It's similar to how the verses go, but different. Bear with me. I'll explain it in a sec. So the ending verses do this. Okay, now I'm going to explain what that is. So you take your normal sort of verse, but you don't go up to this augmented shape. You hold this string down here, the D string, but the E note, 2nd fret, D string, 1st finger. Like that. You hold that for a long time, and then from the 2nd fret D, you go 3rd fret D, and then you make that F sharp minor thing. You do that again, but then you go G, 2nd fret, 2nd fret, 4th fret, 6th fret. Hold that. Hold that for a little bit. And then you slide like that on the D string with your 1st finger. And then you come all the way up here, which is, what is that? That's a D. So, but you don't just strum that. So you go hammer on with the G string, and then hit that B string straight after. And then you hit the G string again. And then put your 4th finger, or your 3rd if you'd like, on the 2 frets above your 1st finger. It's a D bar chord up here, D major bar chord. Just think of that, and you want to hit everything within these 3 frets here. And then you make this same sort of small shape again, but you slide it up a whole step, which makes it an E. So just think D and E bar chords. So hammer on the G with your 2nd finger, B string, G string again, and then high E with your 4th finger. Slide up on the D string up to this E, arpeggiate down from B to G to D, and then you kind of invert the chord. Put your second fret on the B string like that. So D, B, G, D, B string again. And then back to making it an E major. B, B, G. Off, back on to the G. Back to the A. That's it. So there you go. That is how to play If by the Bluetones, or at least something very similar to it. I'm sure it's not 100% accurate compared to what Adam Devlin's actually playing, but I think I got fairly close, and people left comments on my cover video saying that they thought so too, which I was very flattered by. So yeah, if it's not 100% correct, maybe 95%, maybe something like that. I don't know, but also let me know if I didn't explain things entirely clearly or I made some mistakes somewhere, because I'm sure I did. It was extremely difficult to explain how to play this and get my thoughts across. So yeah, just leave a comment if anything was unclear and I'll try to address it, see if I can help. I think he might have played a solo towards the end, unless I'm mistaken. I know he did that live sometimes, but yeah, as far as the core melody of the song goes, I think I covered all bases. But again, let me know if there's anything I missed and I'll do my best to help out. And if you guys found this video extra helpful and you're feeling extra generous, I have a Patreon thing where you can help fund my guitar strings. I don't have any exclusive benefits on there yet, unfortunately, but let me know if you have any good ideas for what I should do, and if I can make things more exclusive, I will. But yeah, it's not obligatory, by the way. Don't feel like you have to give me money, but I wouldn't complain if you did. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, as always. And yeah, I might try and do more of these, but I just don't think I'm very good at them. So feel free to leave reassuring comments to boost my morale and my ethic. Yeah, thanks so much. Talk to you soon.